Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the CVCC SQUAWK, your source of important updates and weekly debates. I hope everybody enjoyed our little sequence of snow days and is ready to get back to business. This morning I am joined by a very special guest, and we will be debating a topic near and dear to many of our hearts. Should the fine arts be mandatory in grade school?
Good morning, CVCC students and staff. It is a pleasure to be here, and an even bigger pleasure to be debating the topic we feel so strongly about.
Good to have you here. The argument I will be posing today is that the fine arts should in fact be mandated by grade schools. Mandating the fine arts would have so many benefits, and all of the possible problems it has could be solved with easy solutions.
Let's start off by listing some of those benefits, and I'll counter-argue as we go.
As a brief introduction, remember all the times your parents and teachers used the fine arts to teach you something?
Like the ABCs?
Exactly. Great example. Following the same concept, studies have shown that students who participate in arts classes are more likely to get bachelor's degrees. The fine arts classes are directly linked to better test scores. There are no studies to provide that information any other way.
But lower income students are pretty destined to drop out, right? Historically, there's not really been any preventing that.
Actually, in Tylea Hawkins' article, Will Less Art and Music in the Classroom Really Help Students Soar Academically? Hawkins talks about the studies that have been done to show that lower income students with access to good fine arts classes were at less risk of dropping out. Some students even reported that the fine arts have been keeping them from dropping out.
That's another problem. Do you have any idea how much funding the arts requires? Instruments and props aren't cheap, and most public schools, especially those that are lower class, are already struggling to pay their teachers and coaches and pay for sports.
Well, as a student from a public school that couldn't afford to fund our band program, the solution to that seems ridiculously simple. Fundraising. Fundraising opportunities are all over the place, from Krispy Kreme donuts to the world's finest chocolate. Not sponsored, by the way. My school even did sheets, pillowcases, and mattresses.
Okay, maybe that is a good idea. It even includes some fun incentives and opens doors for students.
Yeah, I'd say it wouldn't be so hard to pay for mandatory arts classes. It just takes time and patience.
Speaking of time, I think people don't really get into the arts anymore because they're just a thing of the past. Concerts that aren't pop or rock artists are so long, and nobody has time for that.
Actually, contrary to most people's ideas, the arts have evolved with the times. Instrumental concerts are more like an hour and a half rather than 3 to 4 hours long and play at least one recognizable piece from pop culture. Theater has evolved to be more relatable teen plays rather than Macbeth. If they'd like to take the time to look into it, people would find that there's at least one fine arts program that they'd enjoy.
I never even knew about that. Maybe after the podcast, you can help me look into some fine arts things I might like.
That's a wonderful idea. So have I changed your mind about mandating the fine arts?
You know, I think you have.
Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us, and I hope we've convinced you all as well.
Have a great holiday season, and thank you for joining us.
As always, debate and update next week. Stay red, CVCC Hawks.